Alright. Okay, we're going to start with chapter 27 tonight. I honestly don't actually know why I'm recording this, because some people I don't think ever even watch it. But we'll record it, because that's what we agreed to do. Fair? Fair.
Absolutely. You are a person of your word.
Okay.
I love integrity.
This way we can go back and rewatch them.
Yeah. How many of you have done that?
I have.
Did you guys know that I have like 135 views on my vital signs lecture?
There you go.
How does that happen? That would require each of you to go watch it 20 times.
Maybe we did.
We didn't.
We did.
Okay, we're going to start with face and neck injuries. And when we talk about face and neck injuries, we specifically mean face and neck. Okay, when we get to the next chapter, we'll talk about head and spine injuries, but specifically face and neck. Okay? The face and the neck are particularly vulnerable to injury because they're exposed. They're really exposed. And they're very vascular, so they bleed a lot. If we have injuries to our face, it causes some problems with our airway. Why?
Because typically if your face is getting injured, then it's going to go into your airway possibly. Like if you burn your face, you're going to inhale hot air probably.
That could be potentially it, yes. What's another reason?
Broken teeth.
Broken teeth, and why can broken teeth cause a problem?
Because they can get lodged in your airway when
And
you get
become
swollen. Yeah.
an airway obstruction, right? Teeth can get lodged in your airway and become an airway obstruction. What else?
Blood.
Blood. Why is blood a problem?
Same thing. It'll get into your airway.
It gets in your airway. Sometimes it gets in your airway and you swallow it, which you do with most fluids, and then it goes down into your stomach. That blood in your stomach becomes a problem. Why? You're going to puke. Then what?
You got an airway obstruction.
Then you've got an airway obstruction. You're going to aspirate it. All right. So taking care of the face and the neck is kind of important. So we need to remember that the head is basically a giant ball of vessels, and it's going to bleed, and it's going to bleed, and it's going to bleed. So bad head injuries happen, and they bleed just as much as not bad head injuries. Okay? A head injury can look absolutely terrible, and it can bleed a lot. Once you get it all cleaned up, it could just be a little scratch, but it's going to bleed a lot. Okay? So the head is divided into two parts. It's divided into the cranium and the face. So when we talk about them, we're going to talk about the face again, and then we're going to talk about the cranium, and we'll divide those up into the next chapter, and I already said that. Okay. What are the bones of the face?
Mandible, nasal bone.
You have a nasal bone. Good.
Zygoma.
Okay, where are those at?
Under your eye.
Yeah.
Where?
Right here.
Yeah, they form
Cheeks.
your cheekbones, right?
Mandible.
Okay, we've got a mandible.
You got the orbit.
Maxilla.
The mandible and the maxilla.
You write it down, so okay. That must be wrong.
Pardon?
Nothing. Would be good. Yeah, you're right. Nasal is that right combination.
Okay.
Frontal.
We have two of the maxilla bones, we have two zygoma, the jawbone, and the mandible. And those are the 6 major bones in the face. Right? So, what did I say? We've got 2 of these. We've got 2 of these. No, 2 of these.
Maxilla.
No.
Maxilla, 2 zygomas.
2 maxilla. Not 20. We're now a grasshopper. Okay. Now, the orbit of the eye is actually composed of other bones. It's composed of the bottom of the frontal bone, part of the nasal bone, and the zygoma, right? And that structure is integral to protecting the eye. If you damage your orbit, your eye's going to go whoop, if you damage it severely enough. So the orbit is really important, but we don't actually consider the frontal bone to be a part of the face. Why?
Is it a scalp?
It's scalp. Well, what's this? This is my forehead. What bone is this?
Frontal.
It's my frontal bone. Why do we not consider this to be a part of the face? Because it builds the cranium, because it holds my brain. Right? That's the job of the cranium, is to hold the brain. So even though it helps to create part of the structure of my face, we don't consider that to be a frontal facial. We don't consider it to be a facial bone. laughing at me already? Are you sure? She is. She knows she is. She doesn't want to ride home. Okay. This, what is this called? What's the medical term for your ear? What's this called? Nope, that's this. Pinna. This is a pinna. Pinna. This is the tragus. If you want to find a pulse, did we find this pulse the other day? Just anterior to the tragus, right above it, there's a pulse there. Did we find it already?
I feel you.
Can you feel it? Did you feel it?
I felt it when I read it, actually.
Did you? You
Yeah.
found it then? It's kind of cool, huh? But it's very easily hidden. Like if you press too hard, it's going to disappear. So don't press too hard on it because it'll go away. Okay, this right back here, this bony process right here, you can all feel it behind your own head, your own ears, behind your own heads, behind your own ears, is the mastoid process. Okay? What purpose does that serve besides a handhold for C-spine?
Well, it's a perfect landmark to look for something called battle sign if there's bruising back there.
It's a great place to look for battle sign, which is in our head injuries, right?
Indicative of basal skull fracture.
Yep. We're going to practice skull fractures. Do you need some sticky notes?
Yeah, those are bad.
Okay, this joint right here, what's this joint called?
Temporomandibular.
Temporomandibular. It's where your mandible and your temporal bone connect.
TMJ.
Right above that is that pulse point right there. Okay. Let's see. I am not going to cover a whole lot of anatomy and physiology because we already did, for one. And for two, you guys can read all that stuff yourself. So, sorry. Okay, let's talk about injuries to the face and the neck. We already said that they can cause partial or complete obstruction of the upper airway. Bleeding, impalements, those are all common to cause those injuries. Now, what's another problem that can result from an injury to the face? We've already got bleeding.
Vision, the loss of vision.
Pardon?
Loss of vision.
Loss of vision.
Swelling will threaten your airway.
Swelling, that's what I wanted to talk about. Swelling can also cause airway problems. Do you remember when we were talking about burns and we said that any circumferential burn is considered a severe burn? What was circumferential?
All the way around.
All the way around. If we have an injury to the throat, that can cause some pretty severe swelling. And that swelling can cause your airway to close off. You don't even have to have a circumferential injury. If you have a frontal injury, it can cause enough swelling that your injury or your airway can close up. Over Christmas break, when we had that great big long period of time where we couldn't have class because there was too much snow, my daughter got her car stuck in my driveway. Not this daughter, my other daughter. And she's got a Dodge of some kind, Dodge Charger. Is that what it is? Yeah. She's got a Dodge Charger and it's got slicks on it. So she was stuck in the snow in my driveway. So we went out to push her out, to try and push her out. She's got a fin on the back of her car. And so my husband and I are pushing and pushing and pushing and rocking back and forth and pushing. And finally, we pushed hard enough that she moved, but at the same time, my feet slipped right out from underneath me. And I came down right on her fin on my throat right here. I swear to God, it felt like I couldn't swallow or breathe for like 30 or 45 seconds. I really thought I had done some damage to my airway here. And I laid in the snow long enough to be like, okay, I'm all right. I need to get up. But for the next day or 2 days, it was really hard for me to swallow because I'd hit right here with the fin.
Did you have a laryngospasm?
I don't think I did because I was still able to swallow, but it hurt so badly, it felt like I couldn't, even though I knew I was able to because I tried it. Okay, so let's talk about how to treat injuries of the eye. I'm really sorry that you don't like these pictures because my teenagers have to choose a picture and write a scenario to go along with the picture.
I'd pick that one.
One way to damage the youth.
They're gonna go out and do ride-alongs with EMS, so.
Yeah.
They also got to do these today, and they asked if you guys did them, and I told them no, and they said, but they'd have a lot of fun. They got to cut out clothing and dress their people in appropriate PPE. So let's talk about injuries to the eye. Eye injuries are fairly common. They can have long-term consequences, including loss of vision. So what are some of the eye injuries that we might come across?
Fish hook in the eye.
What's that?
Fish hook in the eye.
I still don't understand you.
A fish hook in the eye?
A fish hook in the eye.
Something
you just
impaled
poke
in the
yourself
eye.
in the eye to prove a point.
Foreign object.
Okay, a fish hook in the eye might be a penetrating trauma,
Yeah.
right? Okay. How do we treat a penetrating trauma like that?
We cover the eye with well, you cover both eyes so they don't move, and then you have with moist.
Actually, I have a question about this. So it says you put bulky dressing around it, and you stabilize the object, and then you put like something else over it, like a cup or a container or something like that to like completely cover it, and you do both eyes, and you hold that in place. But why would you want to stabilize the object? Like, say there's a pen in somebody's eye. Why would you want to stabilize it? Like, because say they do move their eye, like want to move their eye for whatever reason, it's going to be like stabilized there, and it's going to be like,
It's going to cause more damage. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, wouldn't it?
Number one, you can't remove it. And number two, if it stays in there, depending on what it is, if it moves around freely, it's just going to continue
Yeah, I
ruining
guess
things. So if you can stabilize it and then blank out their other eye so you don't get that sympathetic motion, you're minimizing things as much as you can.
Okay.
Although you do have a valid point. If you stabilize it and they're moving their eyes anyway, are they causing damage? Yeah, probably. But it's much less damage than could be caused
Just
if you left it
flopping around.
flopping around.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so we've got some penetrating injuries. What else?
Chemical injuries.
We have chemical injuries. How do we treat chemical injuries?
Flush.
Flush away from the body.
Okay, what kind of flush?
Saline.
Clean water.
Saline or clean water. And there's a handy dandy little trick, since everybody has a nasal cannula on board, right?
But you gotta figure out how to fit the cannula into the water source.
Pretty thin.
Well, no, but you see, I've seen bottles of saline in junk bags. Okay, so you've got a bottle of a soda bottle.
Right.
How do you get air fitting in the bottle thing without causing issues? I'll ask.
When I was in high school, we were in class, and a kid threw a pen across the classroom,
My baby out
stuck
here.
in a kid's eye.
Ooh,
Yep.
shot card.
I don't even know how that's even possible.
It was amazing.
It's all right.
This shows this. It doesn't show.
Yeah, it was good. I like that idea. It's pretty cool.
Hold on, saline solutions.
I need to put NS on my shopping list apparently.
NS. Normal saline.
All right. We're going to pretend this is normal saline because we don't have normal saline. But I have this nice handy dandy syringe and a nasal cannula. See this wonderful nasal cannula right here? Just your typical nasal cannula. We're going to pretend this is normal saline or eye irrigant or whatever it is that you want to use.
Do we have one of those syringes?
You can go to D&D and get one. Horse tranquilizer.
All right. Do you want to be the mannequin? Do you want to be the dummy?
I don't want water squirting in my face.
It won't be in your face, it'll be in your eyes.
How about you be the dummy and I squirt it in your face?
Well, how am I
She's
supposed
supposed
to
to
show you
instruct
what
the
to do?
proper technique. You need a body.
Yeah. You can climb up there, Chief, lay on your back.
Facing inward.
Yeah, facing them if you can. You can pull that out if you need to. One of you want to grab some paper towels back there, because he's going to want them.
Y'all gonna make a mess of me.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's all good.
Okay. This is your handy dandy little nasal cannula right here. We're going to use this nasal cannula to flush his eyes out. Fair? I say fair like you guys are going to tell me no. I'm just going to try and put this in a good place and keep it where I want it. And this is just going to kind of spread out over his nose. Instead of going into his nose, we're going to just use it to spread out over his nose. Plenty of paper towels because it's going to start running out the side of your eyeballs. Okay? Oh, I hope this goes in because that's not very... You ready?
We were going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Ask me about what?
How do you join that tubing up to some of the hell out?
Help.
Hello.
Okay, so the eye irrigant that I normally use has a... It's got one of these things on it. Like, it looks like a squeeze bottle.
Why aren't you people up here witnessing my aggravation?
I can see.
We can see
So
from here.
this is just this very simple way to flush your eyes.
That's really cold water.
Sorry.
It's all good.
You get both eyes, one movement, and you can flush it pretty well. If you need to, and you don't have eye irrigant, you can hook them up to an IV bag of normal saline, and it'll just drip flow, right, through with gravity. All right. Ready for that to come off?
Yep.
All right.
Very effective though.
Should be quite effective. Watch yourself when you get off there because the floor's wet.
Felt like you ran about 5 gallons through my eyes and there's only this little puddle. It's amazing.
Yeah. You know how much we actually ran through there? Maybe 20 cc's.
Yeah, it was just a little tiny bit, but it was pretty amazing.
That could have been you. Okay, so we talked about treating penetrating injuries. We talked about how to treat chemical injury. What else do we have?
Burns.
Burns.
Pardon?
Burns.
Burns. Okay, how are we going to treat a burn?
Immediate transfer.
Cool. Like, you can put a cool cloth over them, can't you?
You can temporarily put a cool cloth over them.
For like 10 minutes or something?
Yeah. And then we just have to cover them, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we leave that cool, moist cloth on there?
Because it prevents it from starting the healing process.
Why does it prevent it from starting to heal?
You covered this in burns the other day.
I did cover it in burns the other day.
Put something of water next to burned tissue. What ends up happening is you end up leaching the fluids out of those burns, and you continue to do that, which is not a good thing to have continuously.
So if we're continuing to pull water out of the burned tissue or the injured tissue, it stops the healing process. We have to stop motion in order for the healing to start. Okay? Not only that, but if we continue to pull fluids out of our burned tissue, there's a possibility that our patient can become both hypovolemic and hypothermic as a result of that. That's where you got the fish hook, huh?
Yeah, there's a picture in there.
Pretty dramatic.
It's pretty cool.
Nice fly.
A knife blade impaled in that other eye? Awesome.
I think that's it.
It says knife, like down at the bottom.
Pair of pliers or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say it kind of looks like a pair of shears or
Garden
something.
shears or something.
Garden
Yeah.
shears,
Garden
yeah.
shears.
Or tin snips. I don't know.
I only see one handle though.
But why would there be one handle?
I'm gonna make a guess
Two
that
legs.
maybe that thing flew out from a piece of machinery.
Anything's possible, we don't really know, right? You can write your own scenario if you want. If you really like those pictures and you really enjoy getting into it. Yeah? No? Okay.
You can have like the eye coming out of the socket.
You can have the eye coming out of the socket. What is that called?
There was a term. Blowout.
I feel like I should know what that's called. I feel like I already know what that's called, but
I don't remember reading about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't remember reading about that.
It's in here.
Yeah,
they do have
It's
a
on
term
page.
for it.
962, but they don't mention a term.
There's a picture of it in 965.
Gross.
Exophthalmos. All right, what do we do if that occurs?
Isn't it the same as like a evisceration?
Yeah, you just cover the eye and immobilize it and
Yep.
cover it.
Yep,
Immobilize
and we're going to mobilize the other one too, right?
Yep.
I guess you can't really immobilize an eyeball, but you're going to cover the other one to help keep it from that sympathetic movement. What about blunt trauma?
Bleeding within the eye.
Yeah, blunt trauma can cause bleeding within the eye. What is the treatment of choice for any of these eye injuries?
Transport.
Transport. But it's essentially the same thing for every single one, right? I mean, if you have something in the eye that you can reasonably irrigate out, then you're going to try and irrigate it out. But once you're done with that irrigation, what are you going to do to the eye?
Cover it.
Protect. And
Yeah, you're going to cover, protect, and go. And you're going to do that essentially no matter what the injury is. If you have a penetrating injury, you're going to cover both of them. If you have a chemical injury, you're going to flush it out, cover them both. If you have a burn, you can cool it for a little while to help stop the burn, but then you're going to cover them both. So really, anything that you do with the eyes, any type of injury, anything at all, you're going to treat it as though both of the eyes are injured and you're going to treat them all the same way. You're going to cover it and transport them. Okay? How about nosebleeds? Or nose injuries?
It's gonna bleed.
Still bleeding?
We'll say it could bleed out or it could bleed like back into your throat.
Yeah,
Possibly.
if it's bleeding out, it's likely still bleeding in. How do we treat a nosebleed?
Lean forward and
direct
Pinch
pressure
the
and
nose.
then cold.
or
push up underneath,
push above the lip.
which hurts.
Okay, so we can apply direct pressure on the outside and we can put some pressure up underneath right here, right? To try and stop that nosebleed on the inside. What about a broken nose? What are we going to do there?
Well, since most of that stuff is cartilage, there's really not a lot you can do per se.
Not a whole lot.
Just
Really, the only thing you can do is treat the nosebleed, right?
take them to the doctor. So they
Take them to the doctor, and if it heals wrong, the doctor gets to break their nose again and set it.
Three times.
I broke mine in football, and it just
Yep.
like gushed blood down the front of me. It was gross.
Broken mine 3 times.
It's only blood. You're full of it.
It was really gross though.
Don't look at me for a
First one I
minute.
bounced the ball.
She got a foot, like,
That was good.
in
my
between
face,
her
yeah.
helmet and
Your nose
her
is like
nose guard.
perfect though. I mean, it's
I had to
like,
get it rebroken.
Oh,
Mine
so
was
this is
like
why we're
softball.
bringing it up. Oh, the re-break. How was that?
Twice in football.
It was a short operation. It was like
Yeah.
15 or 20
I
minutes.
had this plastic thing over my nose for a little while to keep it from moving, but
Were you awake for the re-break or no?
Third base and
Pretty tough kid.
I'm under it. Okay, I got this. I got this. That's taking long to come down. Soft grass.
Okay, how about the ear? What about injuries to the ear?
Across. Like smack in the face.
It can be cut off.
The ear can get cut off. What part of the ear gets cut off?
I think you just told me.
We just talked about what it is.
Pina.
Pinna.
The pinna. What do we do for an amputation?
Find it and put it on ice.
Find it, wrap it, stick it in a bag.
No ice.
No ice.
No tissue.
Not direct ice.
Once it's stuck in a bag, then you can put that bag on ice, right? And we're not going to put it directly on ice.
That's what I mean.
And then you're going to send that little ear flap to the hospital with your patient. So that's an ear flap.
It can be reattached.
See if it can be reattached. I actually had that very call once.
That's why I was laughing.
So this is the pinna or the auricle, and it leads to the external auditory canal. The external auditory canal is separated from the middle ear by what?
Tympanic membrane.
Which is also called
Eardrum.
eardrum. Do we have injuries to the eardrum? Yeah. How do we get injuries to the eardrum?
Penetrating trauma or overpressure. What else?
Sound waves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has to be over pressure.
Blast injury type stuff.
Things that go boom.
Yeah.
What kind of penetrating trauma can you think of right off the top of your head?
Q-tip.
Q-tip.
Not designed for that.
They're not designed for that, but they're really good for it,
Yep.
right? They may not be designed for it, but
Nowhere on the package does it say put in your ear.
it's not say put it in your ear.
It actually says.
It also
don't-
doesn't
yeah.
say,
It says don't
you
put
know,
it in your ear. Actually.
right. It also doesn't say, you know, put your hair dryer in the bathtub, but people obviously do it.
Now, a long time ago, you asked me about the thing that your mother always told you. Well, the thing my mother always told me was stick nothing bigger in my ear than my elbow. Or smaller, rather.
Bigger or smaller, I guess that
Yeah,
works out.
yeah, you know, I had that. Here's a funny moment too.
All right, what are the bones inside the ear?
Hammer, anvil, and stirrup.
Yep, or the incus, the malleus, and the stapes. Once we get through the incus and the malleus and the stapes, we get into the eustachian tubes, or a eustachian tube. And your eustachian tube actually is a pressure relieving tube that runs from your ear down into your throat. I can breathe through this ear. Not very well, and it doesn't happen very fast, but I can because I have a hole in my eardrum and my eustachian tube is fairly clear. So I can blow air out. I always told my kids if they caught me face down, I was probably okay because I was breathing through my ears. Ears are injured quite regularly, but they don't bleed as much as you might think that they do. Why is that?
Blood flow to them.
I can't hear you.
There's not a lot of blood flow to them, right?
There's not a lot of blood flow to them. It's all cartilage, and the thinnest layer of skin that you have is on your ears. Did I just give you an answer, Mariah? To your quiz?
Yeah.
We were looking at picture 27-32 on Thursday, trying to figure out what that's a picture of.
I don't know. A strap of some sort.
Yeah. I thought
I
it was a
see lips and
hat.
teeth here, and I see a nose. Sure. I think that's part of the hat, but whatever the hell this is, I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it's part of a hat.
Like a visor.
Yeah. Or maybe it's like an actual full hat and the other part of the hat just got
Go on.
Crushed.
Because the top part of the guy's head is gone.
It's like a strap to me.
Yeah, because it's
Like
got
a,
the
like,
lines.
a, like a ratchet strap.
Yeah, it's got the lines right there.
Like part of a ratchet strap is what it looks like to me. Or like a toe strap.
Oh, it could be. Is that a clip in there? A little bit further up? All right, so facial fractures. Facial fractures are not uncommon, and they usually result from blunt trauma. The problem with facial fractures is that you can't splint them. There isn't really a way to splint them to keep them from hurting or moving or anything like that. So how do we treat facial fractures?
C-collar.
Pardon?
C-collar?
You can use a C-collar, which may help to stabilize some of the bones, right? If we have bleeding, obviously we're going to try and control the bleeding, particularly if it's severe bleeding. If it's not severe bleeding, we don't want to press on that injury if we can help it, because it's going to hurt like a son of a gun.
It's also going to further deform whatever deformity
Yeah,
is
it
there.
could cause further deformity, and we don't want to do that.
Make sure they have a good airway still.
Right. The most important part of treatment for facial fractures is to ensure that they have a good airway. What about dental injuries?
Good airway.
Keep the teeth.
Yeah, we still have to ensure that they have a patent airway. And hold on to the pieces and parts of their teeth.
In saline or in milk.
One or the other. There's actually a pretty good success rate of teeth rebinding or implanting if they've been maintained properly.
Isn't there like this stuff that is actually made if teeth fall out for you to put it in there?
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I said there's stuff that's actually made like for if your teeth fall out that to put it in there and it can last for like 24 hours or something like that.
Cool. Do you have that at work?
Yeah.
You sound thrilled.
Okay.
Is it gross?
What about injuries to the cheek?
Airway.
Airway. We're worried about airway. If something is impaled, we're going to stabilize it and transport. If it's impaled but it's causing a problem with making sure they have a patent airway, that's when you remove it. We don't advocate removal of impaled objects very much at all. So that's the one time that we can. If it's going to cause a problem with the airway, we can remove an impaled object.